Hello and welcome to the Bundesliga Show, the review show on every Monday night with myself. And obviously today I'm joined by Petre over in America. How are you today, Petre?
Doing well. Looking forward to getting back to the Bundesrepublik soon, but always a pleasure to chat German football with you on a Monday. It's the next best thing to being in my country.
Yeah, and obviously the vlogs will be back with you soon as well. We have actually just been talking a little bit about some potential vlogs over the next few months. Obviously, we've got the winter break not that long off as well. So obviously an international break this coming weekend. And then I think the winter break starts on the 20th of December as well. So that'll be about, 3-4 weeks this year, Petre, the winter break?
Yeah, it used to be a month in Germany, but since the pandemic, it's been consistently shortened. There's Rory from the Isle of Mull. Well, that's an interesting.
Wow, yeah, Rory checking in from the Isle of Mull. That's literally in the middle of nowhere, somewhere in Scotland. But yeah, yes, hope you're enjoying Rory, and yeah, you can you've earned yourself a little break, and hopefully you enjoy the show tonight. Anyway, so yeah, also Moritz as well checking in with us. Yeah, lovely weekend of Bundesliga action as it always is. And unless you're a Köln fan, yeah, let's be honest, for the last 18 months or so, it's not really been that many good weeks for FC Cologne fans. But yeah, just a little bit of admin as well, as you mentioned. So remember to keep liking, commenting, and subscribing if you enjoy what we do. You know, we are slowly building towards that next 100 mark. And, you know, we've got more and more vlogs and interesting shows for you guys. We'll probably have a few roundups as well in the winter break just to kind of keep things ticking along nicely, so your kind of Bundesliga appetite doesn't run down too much. But yeah, I mean, where better place to start, Petre, this week than our kind of very popular nowadays kiosk club. So yeah, I know you're over in America, but you're still nice and well prepared. So what are the German papers saying this week then?
Well, Dortmund have lost their second consecutive league match. They did, of course, win in the Champions League against Newcastle midweek, and that was an interesting match. Newcastle fans paid tribute to Dortmund fans, thanked them for keeping ticket prices low. They held up a sign that said, "We got change from £20." I don't know how they paid for their tickets in pounds. I guess you can do that electronically. But in any event, since Stuttgart did beat Dortmund, hier fliegt den BVB aus dem Titelrennen. And this is precisely how Dortmund has been thrown out of the title race. So, if you thought last week's headlines after the Bayern victory were cynical, they were quite cynical as well. We will be discussing that match, of course. The Bild pointed out a refereeing inconsistency in that match. 2 penalties conceded by former Stuttgart keeper Gregor Kobel. This is the one and when he took out Undav, and a little later when he took out Silas. There was some inconsistency about which one should receive a yellow card and which one not. For that reason, it says even the the match official, the Schiedsrichter, or the Schiri, as we like to call them in German, has some sympathy with Dortmund. It's been another big week for Harry Kane, the Englishman, a very important brace, and he was actually involved in 3 of Bayern's 4 goals. So Kane knipst, Neuer flucht, Bayern siegt. Kane delivers, Neuer dives, and Bayern win. The kicker, which I strongly recommend that since you're in Nuremberg, you go get your hands on a physical copy. Leverkusen are leading the headlines, of course, with maximale Hingabe. We won't be talking about the Leverkusen match directly. We'll run through it quickly on the best of the rest. But another dominant victory for them over Union Berlin. It looked like they were flagging a little bit after last week's near comeback loss to Hoffenheim, and also a fairly flaccid performance in the Europa League on Thursday. But it's been another big win for them. 2 goals off of set pieces. Xabi is continued to be treated like a god in the Bundesrepublik. But up here, and it's hard to see that, but there is an interview with the administrative team of your Bavarian Swabians, Mark, of FC Augsburg. The newly appointed sporting director, Marinko Jurendic, he was the one who took Stefan Reuter's place not too long ago, and also Michael Ströll, who is a new sort of managing director, 2 new guys that were put in. are talking about the future of Augsburg, how they hope that they can build a European side within a couple of years. We've talked often, particularly on the watch-alongs, about how Augsburg and this U.S.-based investor Bolt Football Holdings are a little bit sketchy. And the kicker, I read the articles today, and I was a little disappointed that they glossed over that. But at any rate, Augsburg are undefeated under their new coach Jes Torup, the Dane, the Super Dane who has replaced Bo Svensson. And there's lots of interesting material on Augsburg in today's print edition of Kickers. So I sincerely hope that you go grab yourself one, Mark, and you'll enjoy reading some good news about your boys, your top tier boys, and being your real boys, but your top tier boys. There's a lot of good information about them. We'll talk a little bit about them when I go through the rest as well. Unfortunately, something of an incident in the stands overshadowed Augsburg's Hoffenheim match this weekend, but we'll get to that when we run through the rest.
Yeah, definitely some good old-fashioned scrapping there, as you'd say in the UK. It reminded me of a scene from 1980s Britain at a Premier League game, to be honest, in the away end at Hoffenheim, Augsburg, obviously in Augsburg as well. But yeah, definitely. So yeah, thanks for that, Peter. It's always an absolute pleasure to hear what the papers in the Bundesrepublik say. But let's hear what we've got to say as well now on the game. So we're going to start our countdown from top to bottom. So yeah, I mean, there were so many good games, as there pretty much always are in German football. You know, we talk a lot about the goals, the penalties, the controversy, the bad defending sometimes as well. And I think this game pretty much had a lot of that as well. The Werder Bremen versus Eintracht Frankfurt game. I think I've got to give myself some credit as well on the predictions. I did tip a 2-2 draw, so I've got to give myself a little bit of credit for that one. You know, bit of a pat on the back, as they say. But yeah, I thought the game was really good, especially the second half. I mean, obviously, Werder Bremen flew out of the blocks. He had a few chances through Dutch, but then eventually it took a penalty from the foul by Ansgar Knauf, actually, dragging Jens Stage down pretty clumsily, really. That was comfortably dispatched by, you know, probably Werder Bremen's leading man, Dutch, nowadays. Then into the second half, and I thought it was a wonderful header as well from Boré. I was really, really happy to see him score against his former club. He didn't celebrate, which was a little bit controversial, because I think in recent weeks, he'd actually criticised his parent club, Frankfurt, as well, for the way they kind of didn't really inform him last season whether he's going to be playing or not. Yeah, but then obviously Frankfurt, as they've often done this season, you know, they don't lose many games, only one defeat in 11 at the moment for Frankfurt, and they did come back very strong through that man Shaqiri, who's probably their star man nowadays. A really nice strike from just outside the box to the near post of the Werder standing keeper. And then, yeah, classic set play goal, which was nicely finished by Smolcic as well. So, yeah, Peter, I mean, who do you think would be happiest with this point? And were there any tactical kind of nuances you saw in this one?
Frankfurt will obviously be happy with the point. Thank you for bringing up Rafael Santos Boré. I should point out that he enjoys immense respect in German footballing circles. And I've said many, many times on this pod that I'm so excited that he's back in a Bundesliga starting 11 again. Congratulations to Marvin Duksch as well, who has been called up to the German national team, our latest solution for our striker problem. We could see Marvin Duksch and Niklas Füllkrug start together for the German national team. Isn't that something? You know, Frankfurt have really surprised us this year because they've gotten it together far, far sooner than we thought that they would under the Dino Topmüller regime, and after what was an incredibly hectic summer of transferring out, in which they loaned out Rafael Santos Boré and sold Rando Kolo Muani on deadline day. So they got rid of their first two strikers. And there's so many rumors about which striker Frankfurt are going to go over or go after in the international break. The latest ones today is Union Geraldo Becker. But Omar Marmoush has suddenly decided to arrive for some reason and has just been absolutely phenomenal. Faris Chaibi, the Algerian who was brought in sort of as a Jesper Lindstrom replacement, had another good match, should have scored a goal himself. Marmoush had a couple of good chances in the first half as well. Skiri, we always knew that he was going to become sort of a midfield metronome because he's so consistently impressed with Köln over the last few seasons. But he's really come on fire, and that's also in large part thanks to the fact that this young Swede, Hugo Larsson, who looks like he's about 12. I don't know. I think he's 19 or something, but good Lord, does he look like a baby? He's a baby on the pitch. But he's been amazing too. And what a hit that was from Skiri off a throw in, off a dead ball in which Bremen weren't set. Marmoush was involved in that. The second goal was a very well designed set piece in which Marmoush delivered the free kick, and it was headed over, was it by Buta, to waiting Smolcic. So yes, I mean, hats off to Topmüller's Frankfurt. They've surprised us all. Many players have surprised us all. Really, nothing too negative you can say about them. Well, aside from the fact that William Pacho made an error, or a couple of big errors, and Ansgar Knauf is. Quite sure what we're going to do with him, Mark. I mean, he's conceded a penalty for the second time this season. He missed a sitter in this one. So much promise for the young lad, but he just seems to mentally the last I would say 9 months for both the German U21s and for Frankfurt. He just makes so many mental errors and seems frustrated and seems to be having maturity problems and things like that. Kind of sad for a player of such promise. So he's probably the only a negative aspect of what I can say about Frankfurt at this point.
Yeah, I remember when Knauf kind of came through. I think it was the back end of the Europa League winning season, wasn't it? And like he was really good, obviously scoring goals at the latter end of that tournament. But I think since he signed on a permanent deal, he just hasn't really done the business for me at times. You know, I think last season was more miss than hit, and I think it's been the same this season as well. And it's you know, as you mentioned, another potential German young prospect that's not really kind of fulfilling expectations at the minute. But talking about German prospects, I just wanted to kind of touch on the German number 9 situation as well. Obviously, Dutch is like the latest man in a never-ending conveyor belt of German number 9s that are being tested here. I think it was Becker last time, wasn't it? He didn't really do it, and I don't even think he's scored since that game as well. Yeah, Behrens, sorry, not Becker.
Right.
Behrens.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Well, it's really going to get very ridiculous now. I mean, you know, I bet you Maximilian Bayer and Nick Voltemada aren't too far behind when it comes to Bayer. I'm all for. Bayer probably deserves a chance at it. But yeah, I think you put that very well with the conveyor belt. I mean, everybody's a freaking kind of candidate now. Let's throw Tim Kleindienst into the mix. Why doesn't he get a shot? You know.
To be honest, I was surprised Dutch, because I would say that Bayer has been more impressive really this season. I think Dutch is good, but Bayer looks more like a potential number 9 to start in the Euros than Dutch, I would say, realistically, you know. But for some reason, Nagelsmann, he seems a little bit reluctant to call the young man up. Maybe because his kind of rise has come from nowhere, basically, because obviously last season he was playing second league football, and this is his first year as a proper, fully fledged Bundesliga professional. But yeah, I'm a little bit surprised to see he's not being called up, to be honest, because they're running out of time at the end of the day. After these friendlies, then there's only the March friendlies and then the pre-tournament friendlies, basically. And then it's going to be the Euros. So a little bit surprised to see no Bayer, but who knows? Maybe Dutch could be the man to send Germany to victory next year. But yeah, for these two teams, I think both are on a good path. I mean, Frankfurt are probably on the better path than Werder Bremen, but I think realistically for Bremen, they just wanted to stay up again. They're still, you know, establishing themselves again as a Bundesliga side after the, you know, dreadful relegation under Florian Kohfeldt a few years ago. But yeah, I think they look pretty good. Peter, anything to worry about for Bremen, would you say, or do you think Bremen are going to be comfortable mid-table this season?
You know, they didn't play up to their potential. We talked a lot about this on the spring pod, that, you know, they had that bad streak of matches between March and April, and they weren't that bad. You know, I think that a lot is really working out for Bremen. I think that I still like Olivier Deman and Mitchell Weiser as these wing backs. I think Marco Friedl, the young captain, played a very effective match here. In terms of the midfield pincer, what they've done is they've taken our boy Jens, all the world's a stage, and they've put him in there. Since Christian Gross and the other new guy that they got aren't necessarily working out. They should be fine. They should be fine. And look, Boré and Dux, I mean, we're looking forward to seeing that. I always like watching Romano Schmid as well. I liked what he did first goal as well. He's an impressive one, the Austrian. So and there's Paul. Oh, we can't wait, Paul. We're gonna have you over. But we got it. That's that's
going to be something. Yeah, I know that Paul's a big fan of the former East Germany as well, so we can head over there to go and see a Dynamo Dresden or a Lok Leipzig. That'd be a proper atmosphere.
Hell yeah! Bring
Paul checking in.
Yeah, bring all the books, and we'll have we'll have ourselves a good Aussie weekend.
Yeah, bring your fighting gloves as well, I think, over there. But Paul, of course, as you know, you're always welcome to come down. I'm sure Peter would also be up for meeting you as well over here in the Bundesrepublik. Yeah, another couple of comments as well. Rory again saying Frankfurt certainly improving. Boré bagging against his parent club is a strange one, as that doesn't happen in England. Yeah, that is true, actually. Yeah, it's very, very rare that I've seen that, because I think English clubs, they normally don't want the opposition getting any advantage over. So basically, they normally kind of include a clause that says you can't play against a parent club. But, that's not for everyone. And I actually prefer the German system, personally.
It happens on occasion. It happened to Vincenzo Grifo, I think, when he was on loan at Freiburg from Hoffenheim, was it? No, when he had just transferred. It happens sometimes in German football. It's not very often, but it does happen. And I appreciate the Moritz's comment about Davy Selke.
Come on. Yeah, if all else fails, Davy Selke.
Davy Selke and Maximilian Bayer, they have kind of the same build. They are really the kind of what happened to Davy Selke? That's like if we ever have another pandemic again, we'll do and like the Davy Selke retrospective, 60 minutes on Davy Selke and what the hell happened.
It's like those HITC 7s videos. What happened to Davy Selke, basically. But to be fair, he did bag his third goal of the season this weekend, so let's not criticize him too much. So let's move on to the next game, which was a bit of a hammering. It was a Friday night hammering in Nordrhein-Westfalen, where Gladbach absolutely basically ran through a desperately poor-looking VfL Wolfsburg team, who, to be honest, I was checking the news all weekend for the firing of Niko Kovac. I just can't believe he's still in a job, to be honest, because last season was, it looked like they might just get top 7, but then they lost that home game against relegated Hertha Berlin to drop out of the Conference League plays. And this season, again, they started well, but the last 4 or 5 games have been putrid from them, desperately poor. And this was a firing performance, if I'm being honest. This looked like a team that they've lost they have no idea what they're doing on the pitch. I think a few of the players even criticized him. I think Maxi Arnold came out and criticized the constant rotation of Kovac as well at the end of the game. And this was a desperately poor performance. I mean, I'll focus a little bit on Gladbach as well, because they were very good and they looked to be improving under the solid coach in Sioane. The first goal was a really nice goal, which nice team move. The ball came in from the side, nice easy finish from Kranjčara. Then what was second goal was Wolf from Castiles, who's not having a good season really at all. A goalkeeper that has always been rated as one of the best in the Bundesliga for probably 3-4 years now. He was desperately poor, basically passing it straight back to the young man Wright, who actually did really well to hold off the defence and finish with a few men around him. Then, more and more chances, just a few kind of half flickers from Wolfsburg. I think Jonas Wind had a good shot, which was just wide. But aside from that, it was all Gladbach. And, in front of the Ultras as well in the second half, Honorat got his first goal in Gladbach colours, which again probably should have been saved by Casteels, but still a nice strike for the improving Frenchman. And then that man, probably the form man at the moment, Player, completed the scoring with a really nice finish as well to make it a very deserved but desperately worrying 4-0 win for Wolfsburg. Yeah. So, Peter, what did you make of this one? I mean, how good were Gladbach and how bad were Wolfsburg in this game?
Like you, I was checking the headlines to see about Niko Kovac's firing over the course of the weekend. We've talked about his tactical tinkering. As somebody who is a tactical football writer, I mean, it's the bane of my existence. I'm constantly cursing Kovac for this over tinkering. He's like Pep Guardiola in the Champions League on crack. I mean, he's constantly doing too much, too many tinkering. And it was actually his sporting director, Marcel Schäfer, along with his disaffected captain, Maximilian Arnold, who in their post-match interviews made no effort to disguise the fact that they were not fans of this needless tinkering. Schäfer, I wrote an article about him. He actually specifically said, we need automatisms. We need, things to sort of work automatically in place. Ironically enough, I see a question about Urs Fischer there in the comment chat. So Urs Fischer's Union Berlin proves that automatisms don't always work. It was just a weird lineup. Jonas Wind is a service striker behind Thiago Tomas. Arnold and Vranks together in midfield, even though Kovac said that Vranks took Arnold's spot earlier, things like this. It was a very poor match from my American Kevin Paredes, who I thought had actually been tearing it up, really. I mean, he was in the starting 11, and I was full throttle. I just thought he was incredible. Luckily, we got an assist from Joe Scally, another one of my Americans in this one, so it sort of canceled out. Or pre-assist, I should say. It was the Gladbach fans really deserved a home win like this because they've had some really tough home games this season. And it was a very, very special night for Rocco Reitz, who has been a Gladbach player since the age of 7. It was actually a topic of post-match interviews. It was really touching to see that his German interviewer from DAZN it held up a little trading card of him at the age of 7 in the Gladbach kit and colors and academy and things like that. So very good game from them. We talked about how good Gladbach actually can be at the beginning of the season, because they have made good signings in Honorat and Kvankara, and Playa is back in form. And another American, Jordan, who had to sit this one out injured, has surprisingly found his form again. So, yeah, I mean, they are a very good team, and they do deserve to be higher up in the table that they are. But the story of this one still has to be, Kovac he rotates needlessly, and he did this. It worked at Frankfurt. It did not work at Bayern. That's why he was ultimately let go at Bayern. Was it Matchday 11 of 2019? Because he was just making all this ridiculous tinkering, and he offended Thomas Müller, which you can't do if you're the coach of Bayern. So this team, Germany's Green Company team, needs to be performing better. And I don't see, after the comments that Schäfer and Arnold made, how Kovac gets the dressing room and his administrative team back behind him unless he can get results. I believe that we see him probably sacked if a poor run of form continues over the next 3 or 4 weeks before the winter break. And yeah, since Oliver Glasner left, we've had a series of very, very bad Wolfsburg trainers. We've had Mark van Bommel. We've had Florian Kofeld for some reason. I don't know why he was hired in the first place. And Kovac and this team missed out last year, and they're on pace to do it again. So I don't know. I mean, who do you bring in? Of course, maybe Bo Svensson. He's available.
Maybe even Oliver Glasner again. Who knows? Because he's not found the job since then either.
Yeah, and Jörg Schmatke's not there anymore, so Glasner can definitely. He won't have any problems with the front office.
Yeah, but I think, let's be honest, who would really want to manage, who with any kind of, clout would want to manage Wolfsburg at the moment? Because as you say, that they've got some very good players on the squad, but as you say, that it's a team that just looks, it's a club that just seems down and out at the moment to me. The fans aren't turning up for the games, the stadium looks half empty a lot of the time.
That's always the case, Mark.
Yeah, but I mean, I saw the stadium on Friday night, and literally the Gladbach end was completely and utterly sold out. And then you just saw that little away tribune at the corner, and it was just like maybe 2 fans from Wolfsburg had made the trip across. I mean, I don't think, I know Wolfsburg aren't the best supported team in Germany, but I think normally they have a few more than that. But I think it's just a team that looks beleaguered at the minute, and it's just, I think that win against Leipzig in the Cup has basically saved their season as things stand at the moment, because, at least they are still in the Cup. I seem to remember they've got a decent draw as well. I can't remember exactly who they play. Maybe someone in the comments can remind me on that one. But that's pretty much all that's keeping their season alive at the moment, because, Europe looks beyond them. They're not going to get relegated, okay, but they just look a pretty beleaguered outfit at the moment. And I agree that I can't see Kovac making it to Christmas, personally. But yeah, for Gladbach, things are going on the way up for, obviously, Sioani. He's a good manager. I'm glad to see him do well after the, that brilliant season at Leverkusen, but then the second season it went a little bit AWOL, didn't it, unfortunately for him. But, he seems like quite well thought of as well. He seems well thought of by the fans there at Gladbach. They seem to back him. They seem relatively happy with what's going on at the moment in Borussia Park. But as you can see from the table, both of these sides are actually level on points on 13. So I think both of these teams will want to kind of, push on more towards the top 7 if possible.
Well, it will be Gladbach, Wolfsburg in the Pokal.
Is it really? No way. Yeah. At Gladbach as well in Gladbach. Oh, geez.
Maybe we should say that Gladbach have also finally gotten a decent trainer in place after a string of mediocre performances with Adi Hütte and Jesus Christ, have I forgotten? No, Daniel Fark. I forgot him already.
He's actually doing well at Leeds, incredibly. He was appointed as a Leeds United manager, and he's doing well. So yeah, sometimes it's just like the manager doesn't fit the club or the squad or whatever. I think sometimes just a few others. Yeah, Christian mentioned about Urs Fischer. Yeah, maybe are you a Hertha fan, Christian? Yeah, but to be honest, I think that one is coming as well. I've got to be honest. I was speaking to an Union fan today actually, and I said I don't know at the moment. As much as we all love Urs Fischer, can you continue to watch these defeats pile up? And like obviously bad behavior from some players behind the scenes. It looks similar kind of situation to what's happening with Kovac at Wolfsburg. Yeah, Moritz just mentioning about Köln signing a lot of has-beens. Yeah, Luca Waldschmidt. I remember that one good season he had at Freiburg, and since then his career has gone a little bit pear-shaped.
You remember when Max Meyer came during the season?
Max Meyer. Wow.
Max Meyer was there, and
is he even playing anymore? His career was his career completely collapsed. Yeah, when he moved to Crystal Palace, almost didn't play for 3 years. Then he came back to Schalke, was it? No, he came back to Köln actually as well.
Came back to Köln, and then I think that was the campaign where they had Marcus Gisdol and fired him and brought in good old Friedhelm Funkel, the Feuerwehrmann. But Meyer got no playing minutes for either coach really, and I think he ended up in Denmark. If I'm not mistaken.
Although Moritz just said he ended up in Switzerland. Yeah, probably. That says it all, really. Let's be honest. Yeah. Okay, guys. Yeah, so let's kind of take it on to the next level now. So we're going to go into the kind of 2 big games, and it's no surprise that Bayern Munich have got themselves once again on our featured 4 list. But it wasn't all for positives in this game against Heidenheim, because this was a really entertaining game, and it once again showed Heidenheim's ability to score goals but not keep them out on the other end. That's the problem. But yeah, this game, started off once again, it was that man, England's captain, fantastic, Harry Kane, with another goal. The first goal was just world class, really. It was that man, Sane, who's been absolutely brilliant as well this season, by the way. He deserves so much credit, and German fans must be really excited for what he can finally do in a German shirt, because let's be honest, he's never really done it in 5-6 years in a German shirt. But I think this is the best form that he's put together that I've seen since he left Man City, to be honest. But yeah, the first goal was world class, genuinely, from them too. The second goal was yet another Heidenheim undefended corner, which led to an easy header. Well, it was still a good header, but it was relatively easy for a man of Harry Kane's ability. That was a 2-0. I think Kleindienst had a half chance in the first half and a couple of other efforts. But other than that, it was a pretty steady first half from Bayern. But then came back Heidenheim. And the first goal was a really, really nice goal, by the way. The ball was really well won back. And it was that man Bester, my favourite man, Bester the best, running at the defence, playing it wide to Dinkchi, who's also been really good. And he played a beautiful ball across to Kleindienst, who scored his 5th goal of the season. And just a few minutes later, really, really dodgy playing out from the back from Kim led to Bester also deflecting it off Kim as well. He didn't have the best of days, to be honest, the Korean. But he ended up equalising just 2 minutes after it became 2-1. So at that point, you're thinking maybe Bayern are going to drop points for only the second time this season. But, followers of the Bundesliga should know better than to think that, because it was quite a well-worked move which led to the shot, and Guerrero kind of tapped home. It was still quite a good finish, actually, through a few bodies, and he got his first goal for Bayern Munich, the former Dortmund man. And then, it was obviously Choupo-Moting with a really nice header, by the way. That was a beautiful header to finish off a 4-2 win. But Petre, there's a lot to talk about in this game. What kind of stood out for you? Were you impressed with Bayern, or do you think Heidenheim were a little bit unlucky in the game?
I was superbly impressed with Bayern. I think that finish off the turn on the first Harry Kane goal was amazing. I agree with you that the corner was horribly defended. You had 8 Heidenheim defenders in the box there, and they gave Kane all the space in the world. But it was still a powerful and emphatic header. Kane was involved on the 4th goal, the Capper goal, and Choupo-Moting's goal as well. He was operating as a 10 at that point, which is actually very, very common in German football. We have this term like a halb neun, a half 9. Strikers, pretty much all strikers who are coached by German coaches are expected to make a lot of deep drops and affect play. And Harry does that splendidly, and he does that happily, because he's just that damn good. It is a record, 17 Bundesliga goals through 11 match days. Guirassy is back on the pitch and has scored from the spot. We'll talk about that in a moment. So the race for the golden cannon is still on. You mentioned Kim, who was responsible for the defensive error on the first Heidenheim pullback goal. Christoph Freund, the new Bayern sporting director, addressed that directly afterwards and said that, look, he's tired. He's been playing almost maximum minutes. He also, has been representing the South Korean national team. Incidentally, Min Jae Kim is nicknamed the Monster, right? That's his nickname. Why?
Probably the biggest man in South Korea, I think. That's why. Yeah.
Well, the Italian fans mistake him for a Japanese player or something, and think that he was a Godzilla or whatever. But that would be a more appropriate nickname, I think, for a Japanese center back than a South Korean one. But in any event, he made that error. The comeback was on in terms of the score sheet, but there never really seemed to be, in my mind, any doubt that Bayern were going to go back and take the 4-2 win. Post-match stuff, Meinke, he's a man after my own heart. They were talking to him about, isn't this really cool that you shut off Bayern? He said, you know what? The problem here is that we've got 10 points through 11 match days, so nearly 1/3 of the season is finished. And he said 10 points is neither feast nor famine. The German phrase is entweder Fisch oder Fleisch, not fish, not meat. And he extrapolated that and said, 1/3 of the season is nearly over. And if we're going to have 30 points at the end of the season if we continue to go this route, which is not enough. Why is that not enough? Because as we mentioned last season, as we were doing some great pods down the stretch of the season, 35 points, 35 points, 35 points, 35 points. We can't emphasize that enough. That's what you need to stay in the Bundesliga. So Heidenheim aren't on course quite yet to stay in the Bundesliga. They do still need to do better, despite all of their rather encouraging performances. They're just not racking up the points total. With regard to Jerome Boateng potentially going to Heidenheim, that's not happening. He's not going to Bayern either. Bayern officially said, they allowed him to train with him, but he's not. They're not going to pick him up due to the controversy, his legal controversies. Frank Schmidt actually spoke on the matter and said, and Frank Schmidt's been in charge of, this was his 600th match in charge of Heidenheim. He's been in charge of Heidenheim since 2007. And, he is, he said, I don't want Jerome Boateng. I want to build up young guys and help them develop and help them progress. I have no desire for Jerome Boateng. Then Boateng's agent was called by Germany's main sporting tabloid Sportbild and said that, well, Jerome doesn't want to freaking go to Heidenheim. They're the one who wanted him. So that's not happening. And I thought that was kind of humorous that, that the agent felt the need to be like, he's not going to Podunk Town. By the way, I should mention that with respect to Heidenheim, Mark and I tried to get tickets to do a Matchday vlog there, but all of the home games are sold out as soon as it goes on member sale. So we can't get access to this sleepy little town, even though we're trying our best for you.
Yeah, definitely. But it's such a great story, isn't it? But a little bit more about the relegation race, because you mentioned that 35 points. And last season, you were saying that the whole season, you were absolutely right, basically. I think basically Augsburg needed results to go their way. That was the only way they stayed up on 34 last year. Whereas if they had 35, they would have been perfectly safe, basically. So what do you think about this season? Because we've mentioned a lot that, you've got Union who are really struggling, Mainz who are still not really hitting the straps yet. Then obviously you've got the two promoted sides, Darmstadt and Heidenheim, who are both averaging below a point a game through a third of the season. Do you think it's still going to be that 35 points, or do you think we could be talking a little bit lower this season?
It could be a little bit lower this season. Pardon me. It could be a little bit lower this season. That is possible. Given that we have a lot of teams that are going to continue to struggle. I think that it seemed impossible that Union could really actually be contesting the relegation race with the high caliber players and the good signings that they have. It still seems possible, but this streak of 12 consecutive losses on the trot, what the hell? Everything is imploding, and they could probably make it even worse by bringing in the wrong trainers. So you could probably say that Union are going to contest the relegation race at this point. Köln are not rising. I don't see them rising in any way, shape, or form. Darmstadt will continue to have problems, and Bochum are going to have problems scoring goals, and Heidenheim as well. There's if you're looking at a 6-team field, and Augsburg could always slip back down into that a 7-team field, it's possible that you could get by with 32 or so.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. So let's move on to the game of the weekend then, which was, not so much in terms of goals, but it was a pretty crazy match in terms of incident, chances, and just about everything. Yeah, Stuttgart 2, Dortmund 1. Obviously, Stuttgart ending a run of 2 consecutive defeats in the league with a fantastic win in the end. And not only the win, but the performance I thought was absolutely superb from start to finish, really. Obviously, the first point is, the penalty from Furyk, which was woefully missed as well. And correct me if I'm wrong, Peter, but this was the first save that a Dortmund keeper made in about 10 years in the Bundesliga from a penalty. That was the commentary that I was watching, which is, I think, since 2013, which is just an incredible statistic. Obviously, Gregor Kobel gave the penalty away, got the yellow card, then kind of Furyk, obviously, they missed 3 penalties in 3 consecutive games as well. Stuttgart, by the way. Now, I think Undav missed the first one, then it was Silas last week, and then Furyk this time. So, yeah, they were definitely happy that Guirassy came in later on. But, yeah, it was actually the away side that took the lead very, very much undeservedly, by the way. I mean, this would have been the biggest smash and grab ever if Dortmund had won this or even got a point from it, to be honest. But it was that, man. It was actually Zagadou. I know Rory's not the biggest fan of Zagadou, but he's actually been really good this season. But he made a pretty poor error. He got his feet kind of mixed up, didn't clear, and Füllkrug basically just had a tap in. I'm not sure why he didn't celebrate. I think it might have been because of how poor Dortmund were before that point, basically. And I think he knew basically that they didn't deserve to have the lead at that point. But anyway, the lead didn't last long, and it was a really well-worked goal by Stuttgart to equalise by Undav, who, by the way, has scored 3 goals in 4 games in the absence of Guirassy. So he deserves a lot of credit as well. I think he was really good. This was his best performance, actually, Undav. He was absolutely superb in this game as well. And he just shows the kind of strength and depth that this Stuttgart side have got at the moment. Then moving on to the second half, it was just chance after chance, really, from the home side. Furyk had a shot just wide. It just seemed like Undav had another forced a few good saves from Kobel. But then it was actually Kobel who was probably Dortmund's best player, ironically. He actually felled Guirassy for the second time. He'd felled a player. Obviously, the returning Guirassy who came on just a few minutes before that incident, he felled him. I was watching the game and I just couldn't believe he didn't get the second yellow card. I was like, how can that not be a second yellow? But obviously it wasn't given. But obviously Guirassy, being Guirassy, had no problems from the spot. The first penalty that Stuttgart have scored in 4 games, and they went on to hold out quite comfortably for the last 15 minutes or so. So yeah, Peter, I mean, first of all, I want to ask you on the Kobel potential red card. Do you think he should have gone, or do you think it was right that he stayed on the pitch for that second penalty?
I think he should have gone because, I mean, they were almost mirror plays. So if the ref was going to be consistent about it, he admitted afterwards that, he wasn't entirely sure that he made the best subjective decision. And he got less than average marks in the German press for that. That was part of the Kiosk Club that I held up earlier. This was Stuttgart absolutely ran riot. They had a 4-1 XG ratio. Dortmund scored the opening goal. As you mentioned, it was incredibly flattering. It had nothing to do with the run of play. I mean, Stuttgart were running riot. They were completely running rampant over there, over this horrible Dortmund side. With former Dortmund rejects like Dan Axel Zagadou and Chris. So Gregor Kobel wasn't the only guy facing one of his old teams today. So I mean, I first and foremost, when it comes to the penalty, I'm just happy that Stuttgart got a chance to win this match, because if they hadn't, that would have been horribly unfair. That would have been horribly unjust based on the incredible performance that they put through. And Kobel saved; he prevented it from being 4-5-0. Tactically, once again, everything worked for Sebastian Hoeneß. Dortmund were a little bit surprised to see a 4-4-2 with Milo sort of as the what Germans call the anhängende Spitze. I guess it's a mixture between a 10 and an anchoring attacking midfielder. Freaking Jamie Leveling was good in this one. I mean, everybody was good in this one. Actually, I neglected to mention in the Bayern match that Bouna Sarr was good.
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
What? So between Bouna Sarr and Jamie Leveling, having great weekends, a couple of great surprises there. What can you say in terms of positives from a Dortmund perspective here? You can't say much. You really can't.
They were dreadful. I thought
they were dreadful. They were absolutely dreadful. And I guess it's no exaggeration for them to be sort of taken out of the title race at this point. And I don't know why exactly. I mean, Terzic had this club off to a decent start. He had a lot of players that were rounding into form and were coming into form. Maybe that's Bo Svensson's next station. He'll follow in Thomas Tuchel and Jurgen Klopp's footsteps directly and go from Mainz to Dortmund before the season is out. But congratulations to Stuttgart. Congratulations to Rory. Congratulations to Serhou Guirassy for coming back on the pitch and scoring immediately off that penalty. That's what put this match, perfectly tuned there. Yeah, trying to think of. I mean, Undav has been an excellent replacement for Guirassy, and Undav also worked as just like Harry Kane did, as sort of a half 9, 10 mixture after Guirassy came on the pitch. And Undav was talking on Sportstudio on Saturday night, and he said, it's just a privilege to play behind Serhou Guirassy. The man can score blindfolded. So that's a nice little dangerous thing to look at there. They could both start. Undav could be his service striker in the coming weeks, and that would potentially be some explosive stuff. Of course, we talked about it many, many times with Stuttgart, and we can talk about it with Leverkusen too, and pretty much any Bundesliga team at this juncture. The Africa Cup of Nations and the AFC Asian Championship are coming in January, which means Bundesliga clubs are going to lose players to both continental championships, and that really is going to influence the title race a lot.
Yeah, without doubt. Just a few other good comments as well. Rory saying big love for Zaga this season, but it's not his best work. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Moritz also saying Heidenheim is unbelievably difficult to get tickets for. Yeah, he's going to try for Eintracht Frankfurt and Köln tickets. Yeah, if Köln are still in the Bundesliga. Yeah, I know you're a Köln fan, Moritz, as well. We're hoping for you. Yeah, and just another fan as well, VFB Slayer, saying, Weidenfeller versus Boateng in 2013 was the last.
Weidenfeller.
He was a proper goalkeeper, Weidenfeller. Yeah, proper German goalkeeper, yeah. But okay, so just one other point as well from Moritz as well. Any thoughts on Timo Werner as well? The sporting director has said he's open to him leaving in January. Yeah, it just hasn't worked out for him in his second return to Leipzig, to be honest. And I think he's now quite a way down the pecking order. I think obviously Openda has started well for Leipzig. Poulsen is still preferred to him, which says everything really. And I think obviously Šeško was given a start as well against Freiburg at the weekend. So it seems as though Timo Werner has dropped quite a way down the pecking order. I know he's played a little bit on the wide, but he doesn't look like he's that comfortable on the wide to me. He looks like a player that prefers to be down the middle. What do you think, Peter?
He's a left lane striker.
Jeez, really. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay, buddy. All right.
Yeah, all good there. Yeah.
Hey, it's cold and flu season over there. There are lots of Germans.
Yeah.
Be careful. He's primarily a left lane striker. You know something? It might not be a terrible idea if, of course, I don't think the Swabians can afford it, but if he could go back to his hometown of Stuttgart, maybe he finds some success there. I mean, I think that I'm shocked that he didn't succeed in the because he's built to succeed in that RB Leipzig 4-2-2-2. The one that Ralf Rangnick sort of pioneered, and Julian Nagelsmann made some. He's running that on the German national team right now. But this was like the system, the high tempo system that Rangnick debuted at Hoffenheim, brought with him to Leipzig, and Nagelsmann followed in his footsteps in both cases. And I just thought to myself, I mean, he's perfectly built for that. He's a left lane striker for that 4-2-2-2, but it hasn't worked out for him. And I mean, I think that when we talk about the German number 9 crisis, he's not even in the discussion anymore.
Yeah, it's incredible, really.
In the discussion at all. So
he was meant to be a 10-year number 9 for Germany. That's what he was being bigged up as when he kind of first came through, and he had, what was it, those 2 amazing seasons for Leipzig where he got like 50 goals in 2 seasons, and then That's why you don't go to the Premiership, guys. Stay in Germany. Stay in Germany, guys. Kai Havertz take note as well.
That's what we were about to ask.
Yeah. But yeah, Kai Havertz take note too. But yeah, definitely. Yeah. So let's just go through the best of the rest as well there, guys, because there were a lot of other good games as well that we couldn't cover in too much detail. So the Saturday afternoon games, Augsburg made it 4 games unbeaten, as Peter said. Good second half from them. First half was all Hoffenheim. Wout Weghorst scored for the 3rd game in a row to give them the lead. A really nice goal, actually, from Hoffenheim, a team move. And then it was that man, Demirovic, who probably got the goal of the weekend, really. If it wasn't for that little nick off the head of Vogt, it would probably have been goal of the weekend. Fantastic strike from him. What a player he's turned out to be, by the way, Demirovic. I think, since he moved from Freiburg, he's barely put a foot wrong in 18 months at Augsburg, and he's become a real fan's favourite for them. Another game was obviously the 0-0, let's be honest, bore draw between struggling Darmstadt and struggling Mainz. I think most people thought there'd be goals in this because, there are a lot of good attackers on display, but not that many good defenders so far this season. But as it happened, it was a stalemate. I think Mainz will be the happier there, in my opinion, because, obviously they'd just beaten Leipzig, so it's okay to get a point after a game like that. Then the late kickoff as well on Saturday, Bochum versus Köln. I think Moritz, you'll probably be quite happy with the point because I felt as though Bochum are quite a lot better, especially in the second half, ironically. I think after Köln equalised, it was just like the Alamo being sent in, basically, from Bochum. It was just chance after chance after chance. But as it's often been for Bochum this season, they just can't get those decisive goals in games anymore. There's nothing wrong with the performances of the Nordrhein-Westfaleners, but they don't win games this season. That's the problem for them. As for Köln, they'll probably be happy with a point on the travels, but let's be honest, they look like a bottom 2 side to me in terms of performances at the minute. Then moving on to Sunday games, the 2 we didn't cover, Leverkusen with just an absolute, basically a 90-minute demolition of Union Berlin, who look like, as Peter said before, they could get relegated as things stand. They've got a big dilemma over these 2 weeks. Are they going to keep Uwe Fischer and risk relegation, or are they going to try and get like a bigger name coach in to try and save them? But obviously that would mean the legend of the east part of Berlin would be fired, which would be sad for all concerned. But as for the game, I mean, obviously Grimaldo with another amazing strike, just a ridiculous player, seriously. Then 2 kind of scrappy goals really from Kusunu and Tar, put the game long beyond the away side before Nathan Teller, the Englishman, actually, who looks really good as well, another good player on their roster, scored a really nice goal, combining well with Amin Adli for 4-0. Then moving on to the final game of the weekend was, this was a kind of mixed one in terms of quality, really. I thought Leipzig, Freiburg. I mean, obviously Leipzig scored a really good first goal through Javi Simmons. And then, I mean, probably goal of the weekend. I mentioned, obviously, the young man, Demirovic, before with a really good goal. But this strike from Merlin Röhl, what a goal that was. Like, he picked the ball up from halfway line, dribbled past the entire team, and basically still had the finish to go with it as well in the 6th minute of added on time at the end of the first half. That was an amazing goal from them. But yeah, a little bit of a soft penalty, I felt, gave Leipzig the win. Ultimately, probably was just about a penalty. But, I don't think Christian Streich would have been particularly happy about that one at all. That ultimately cost his team a point. And then Baumgartner with another pretty lucky goal, really, a very big deflection for the 3-1. So, yeah, that pretty much rounds up, the weekend this week. Peter, any kind of closing remarks this week?
Well, we mentioned we glossed over the firecracker incident there at the VVK Arena. I think that Hoffenheim have responded very well. They've identified the culprits. The ultras have gotten involved. Everybody handled that situation very, very well, and they were able to finish the match without suspending it. Warm wishes to SV Darmstadt 98 trainer Thorsten Lieberknecht, who has left the club to attend a serious personal matter, familial matter. His wife has had a stroke. The 0-0 draw wasn't entirely boring to me because Darmstadt are missing like 3 players to suspension and their coach. So I was a little curious to see how they would react, and they reacted well enough. Moritz mentions that Marvin Schwebe had a good performance in goal for Köln. He has. Poor Timo Horn is crying himself to sleep somewhere. Nothing more to say about the Leverkusen match. Thank you for bringing up Merlin Röhl, who is really, he had a great goal in the Europa League as well. So the Germany U21 international. For those who watch the German U21s, I cover them for Bully News. They're always worth checking out if you love Germany. So we'll be keeping a close eye on him.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks a lot again in the chat as well. Really good chat tonight. It's always great to get talking to you guys and seeing some regulars as well on there. So yeah, if you enjoyed what you saw tonight, then check out our Twitter as well, which is @OverTheBarFB and @OverTheBarExtra. Don't forget to follow Rory as well at Village Footy 20 with all of the kind of his opinions on the games and also some extra information about the channel. And also don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe as well, because it kind of helps us continue to build. And yeah, my throat needs a rest, I think, now. So yeah, thank you very much, guys. Peter, it was an absolute pleasure as always. And we will see you in 2 weeks because obviously the international break this weekend. So see you then, guys. Ciao, ciao.